Lovely to see so many people still here. Excellent, and thank you for your interest. I would like to introduce today's last spotlight speaker, Jef Staes from Red Monkey, the author of the Red Monkey trilogy, who is a leading authority on learning processes and innovative organizations. If you know his presentation style, you won't be surprised to hear that he's doing an excellent job with his 30 years experience advising companies and organizations how to change their cultures in order to be able to be more progressive and keep pace with innovation in this fast progressing world. So without further ado, I would like to give you the stage and to you, the speaker, and the great experience. So thank you very much.
I can start now. Okay. Keep it for the end, maybe. First of all, thank you for attending. It's a heavy 3 days. Who got drunk yesterday in the Irish pub? I did. And the day before, I did. So it's always a pleasure coming back to Online Etica because after a while you start to know a lot of people and you know a lot of other people, and it's basically about sharing ideas and sharing experiences, and that's what I'm going to do today. So for people who know me, I'm 63, but I'm really passionate and hopefully a little bit talented. I'll explain later on about learning and working in innovation, and I got my experience in learning as a training manager and corporate learning officer for a big company in Siemens, Belgium. So what I will do today is I will try to explain something which is already happening, and some of you already heard some of my stories, but I always try to add some new slides to explain something very difficult. Because what we are going through is a paradigm shift. It's a kind of a disruption in learning and working, and also education and innovation. So what I'm going to do is I got 45 minutes, and this is something I put in my slides. When you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. And I think it's right. My wife bought it for me, so I think it's right. So what I'm going to tell you is today 6 stories about why we should change education and work, but why we are not able to. And I'm coming to Online Etica since 2002, when I did even an opening keynote at that time. And still, when I come to Online Etica, I don't see a lot of change. I see a lot of improvements, but I don't see disruption. If you go to the automobile industry, you see fossil cars and electrical cars, disruption. So if you go to every other sector in the world, and then you see that disruption, real disruption is taking place. So the first story, it's something I always use to create a kind of a canvas from which I explain everything. And what is happening today, and this is the timeline. We are coming from information shortages, and what is information shortage for me? It's when you can't learn at home. It's like when at home you don't have water, and then you have to go to a well to get water. That's information shortage. And now we are living in an age of information luxury. This means that everybody who is social skills and connected to the world, to the cloud, and other people living in all parts of the world, suddenly, at home you can learn everything. So, how come that we still go to school? Nobody goes to a well for water, so we don't go to school. So, but this information luxury created a new dynamic in change, because suddenly the world is changing. The power of innovation is increasing, and the world is changing from something flat, where you could see for 100 years what's going to happen, or 20 years, to something that you can't see anymore what is going to happen tomorrow. A lot of organizations don't even know what's happening today. So in order to explain that, I use this 2D, flat, and 3D, three-dimensional, all these waves. And the same thing is happening in education. You don't even know anymore for what you're going to train people. But companies don't know anymore which will be the next product. So it's the same. So what I always notice that during my experience as a training manager and as an engineer, that you see there is a switch going on. There's a switch, what I call switch. It's from the 2D smarts, which learned from discipline and intelligence because there wasn't a lot of information. And now the number of people who are really passionate and talented and they jump into the information flow, that group is increasing. It's really happening. It's increasing, probably with our children or whatever. And what we see now is a battle of these two groups. One group, mostly of my age and your age, which went to a diploma and a degree, and then the other group who just learns when they need it. And every time they become smarter. So what we see now is the battle of the smarts, but we created a legacy. And the legacy is 2D smarting. And that's a world we are leaving. And for today, I tried to make a slide to make it possible to show the major difference in learning now and in the past. In the past, it was called 2D smarting, that's what I called it, and it all started with information. So that's the reason why, if you go to school, you have all these courses which are basically information. A teacher is giving you information and models or whatever. And the teacher requested discipline, which basically is repetition. And then you got a degree or points because you were intelligent. And intelligent meant you were able to copy what the teacher taught you. And I think this model is right, because if there is no information in the world, then you have to go to school, you have to learn, because when you're off school, you can't learn anymore. That's how it happened. And then we made people do action. Are you able to do something with the information, and are you able to prove that you're able to apply? And then you got a degree. Then you got a degree. Then you have a wall with diplomas. But there is a problem with this system. And the system is the following, that if we go to our today's education system, you don't get a degree because you're passionate and talented. You get a degree because you're disciplined and intelligent. And this means that you have a university degree, not because you were passionate and talented, because you succeeded in courses you didn't like to study. Who has a university degree or higher education? Well, you succeeded for that because you had to learn a lot of stuff you really like to learn. Because if you would have learned based on passion and talent, nobody would go to school until they was 23. But that's the old paradigm. So what we see now is, you go to work and you get a function description. And the same shit happens again. You have to do things where you say, I don't have the passion and talent for, and then you're sent to a course, personal development, to do better what you don't like to do. And if you keep this doing, then you got your pension. And then you have a high salary. And it's the same with all of us. But the main problem with that is that the result is that today a lot of people have become sheep. Because they weren't able or allowed to learn and work in the passion for their talents. And they do the whole day, meh. That's one. Why? Because we became addicted to our diplomas and function description. And this is now the problem, because 80% of people, and I really believe in that, 80% of people are not really engaged at their work. 80% of people, when you have a drink and you start talking about work, the first thing they say is, this is private, no talking about work. This is not normal. This is not normal. If you're passionate, you always talk about your passions. So the question we have to ask ourselves, we have to stop doing this. Stop passionless education. There is no difference between this and this. He gets a fat liver and he gets a fat brain. That is the same. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, how do we have to change it? And when you're 63, they tell people that you get wisdom. So I'm going to tell you some wisdom, okay? And I try to do that with the following slide. And that's what I call 3D smarting. So 3D smarting is another kind of paradigm about learning. And I really believe in this. Real learning only happens when you groove in your talents. And the talent is, and everybody knows it, if you work and learn in your talents, then you become better than somebody who doesn't have these talents. That's it. That's the basic. So if people ask me what's our destiny, well, it's finding out why we are here. Because when we were born, they forgot to say, these are your talents. And there is a second word that's called passion. And passion is the same thing as suffering. If you look it up in a dictionary, it comes from passio, and it means suffering. So if you say you're passionate, then you also say, I'm suffering. If I'm an athlete or a graphical designer or whatever, and I say I'm passionate, then you see me sweating. If I'm an athlete and you don't see me sweat, I'm a sheep. That says who is passionate. It's the same thing like passionate in love, then you suffer. When do you know when you're not passionate in love anymore? You stop suffering. It's the same, right? So what happens now with people who are passionate about creating new products and services and whatever, they have a hunger for learning. They jump into the information flow, they build new knowledge, new skills, even new attitudes. Why? Because it's driven by the passion to do something. And this is new. That's the reason why with 3D smarting, information is much lower. Information is used by people who are passionate. And now imagine that you become passionate in something you have a talent in. And you learn. And you do something with it. You're allowed to do something with it. Then you become better. And you have a rewarding system. It's dopamine. And because of this dopamine, people who suffer, they say, yes, I did it. I was at Online Edeka giving a keynote. And if you're talented, it's better, you get more dopamine. And that's the whole thing. So everybody of us, if we would be able to be free, we are machines that are looking for the right job, the right courses, where we are able to use our talent, get passion, get access to information, get the resources to do with it, and then magic happens. We become addicted to ourselves. Now, if you believe this, then I give you some other thoughts about 3D smarting. 3D smarts do 3D learning. And what is it? And I didn't know. I'm an engineer from background, so I didn't know anything of psychology of learning. But it's a physical process. The first time I read about this was a book from Tony Buzan about mind mapping, where he explained about the brain. It was a mind opener. So what happens is, in the brain, it's a physical process. This is information, and this is increasing. There is no shortage. It's a luxury. And people with passion, they suck up the information, it goes into the brain, and you got 86,000 billion neurons. And when you put people on a PET scanner, then you see the brain light up. That's learning. But I also noticed that people who are passionate and talented, they also like to share information. So they give information to people who ask them, how does it work? How would you solve it? Do you know why? Because when they are explaining, new neural connections are built. And they become smarter themselves. So learning is not anymore getting information, but now we are living in an age where learning is inhaling information and exhaling information, and in the process, that's learning. That's the reason why the amount of information is increasing. Now we have the technology that you can ask me any questions, and I can give you any answers. And that's how you recognize passionate people. So what I did is, I tried to show what happens. And I told you I'm an engineer. I still like technology, but as a user. I bought myself a 3D printer. Somebody has a 3D printer. I like to ask the question, who has a 3D printer at home? Well, this is it. And you're talking about innovation indications. Don't have a 3D printer at home. It costs 200 euros in China, shipping inclusive. You have to have it. It will transform the world. So what I did is, I drove the brain on the internet, downloaded the internet. It's an STL file. You make a G file of it and say print, and it comes out the print. It's out the print. It's magic. So I bought some LEDs and a dynamo, and I'm going to show you what learning is. Never forget it anymore. Learning. You're passionate. You have access to all the information you have. The information goes into the brain, and new neural connections are made. This is what you show under a PET scanner. But people who are passionate and talented, they also share, and they learn again. So passionate and talented people, they don't have to go to school. They learn, and they share the whole day. You know what happens at school? 10 months you have to be at school. It's out most of the year, and 2 weeks before the exam, it's on. That's not learning, that's fake. You can't build new knowledge and skills by the system that we call education today. Now, again, I'm a fan of education. And Musk is a fan of cars. But he built the electrical car. And that's why everybody in the car industry hates him. So I'm a fan of education. But we need to disrupt education. Education has to become an ecosystem where students learn and share. And teachers are not anymore the guys who provide the information, but there are people who can share, who build a system where students can go where they have passion and talent for, and they are passion and talent detectors. So you can fire 30% of the teachers. Because students, when they are in their passion, they will share. It becomes an ecosystem. It's the same thing like, that's disruption. So now I have a question for you. I printed here posters. They are really nice posters. They're printed on canvas. You should have one. I got some of them with me. So I got 2 posters there with 2 smarting and 3D smarting. And what I'm looking for is 2 people from the same organization who come here, take this poster home, and produce a video where they explain these posters. It's a one deal. If you don't come, I take the posters home. But if you share, you become visible. So who wants to come? 2 people from the same organization. Are you learning professionals? Do you have another one, a colleague? You come with 2. You come now to this place. Because that's how we learn. That's what teachers should do. Teachers should say, this is a theory. And yes, you can choose, you can change. You want to have another poster. Oh God, you're already in a... You can take this one. You're from the same... No, you have to stay here. No, we have to poster, we have to keep it up. So you take this one and this one.
Yes.
This is the prototype, but this is unique. I think there are 20 in the world or something like that. Does it work? It's no battery, okay? It's a human force. So what I'm trying to do is, this is the beginning of disruption of education. Because imagine that will be a physics teacher. And he would say to his teacher, to his students, this is theory. Now I give you the chance to use this theory and teach it to others. And produce a video. What do you get? Flipped classroom. Does it cost you any money? Nothing. The only thing that costs you is in your brain. As a teacher, you change your paradigm. You understand what I'm saying? Please stay, because now I can refer to... Do you take the other posters? No, that one. No, one person... Yeah, okay, you produce the videos together, but now you hold one person... okay. We continue. So if this is happening, this is gamification. This is not serious gaming. Gamification means, probably you have to stand because you can't see. Please sit, because otherwise you can't see the slides, right? Oh, just go sit, just go sit. This is gamification. Gamification means that people have a mechanism that they always are looking for a job where they have passion, in the groove with their talents, have access to information, and can learn, and they get dopamine. And people keep searching until they find that. And then they never want to go on a pension. Because if you're on a pension, you have a function description at home. That's what I always say, people. So stay working as long as possible. So the next thing is, this is happening with functions. The world is changing, and the functions are exploding. Because this was a dentist, but now you have, in dentist, I have my office is in Abbey, and next to me is a person who works with dentists, and he uses 3D scanners. So not anymore, you know, and then it's a scanner. It's scanned. It's going to Asia, and there prints are made or produced, and it's coming back to here. That's a disruption. But this dentist, he can't handle everything anymore. It's becoming a team. The same thing is happening with cars. Cars, you have a car, and one person could maintain it. But now it's going to electrical cars. And now we have batteries, and electrical engines, and cloud applications, and self-driving cars. There is not one person anymore who can handle a car. You need experts, 3D smart. The same thing is happening in education. The moment you leave the paradigm of teaching and you start building an ecosystem, then you're going to realize you still need teachers, but maybe you also need guides and people who produce content with students, or facilitate, or validate. So if this is not happening in education, you're still not busy with disruption. Now, if you think about this thing, this is what a statement and a conclusion. And I showed this in an earlier session. This is my degree. I'm an engineer. Diploma in technical engineering. I did one extra year to become a master. And 2D training education is the biggest scam in the world. Why? Because these are all the courses in there where I got a good appraisal for, points, sufficient points. And then I went to work, and this is not learning. I just learned 1 week and I passed my exam. and I went to work, and 80% of what I've studied, I've never used. Never. Why had I go to school that long? I even forgot it 2 weeks after I went to school. 80% of the courses never. So this also means that there is a needless elimination. A lot of people are leaving education because they don't succeed in the course, maybe history or mathematics, and that's why they can't become a surgeon. Why? And that's the reason why a lot of children are lost in education. Needless elimination. Or this thing also, it's too long. You have to study until you're 23, 24. To study so much things, 80% you don't use. Why? Industry and society need people of 18, 19, 20 years when they are in the flower of their life and learning. Because these children between 18 and 19 and 20 are much cleverer than people of 40 and 50 working. So if you really want to disrupt education, make it shorter. Make it more efficient. It's too expensive. The return on investment is too low. So the statement is, or the conclusion is, we should build an educational system where students with passion and talent, where the lamp burns, yes, should be able to go faster. So if you have the passion in physics, it's suffering. Passion is suffering. Just light the lamp. If you have the passion in physics and the talent in physics, then she knows everything in 2 months. Why should she keep studying for the other 8? Just get it to the next level. But if she has following a course where she doesn't have the passion and talent for, then you should be able to choose another course. And then maybe you have a surgeon who is also a cook. What's the problem? What's the problem? There's no problem. He just had a talent to do different things. And he got in the groove with his talent. Now, if education doesn't succeed in doing that, you're not building schools, you're building prisons. So the next question we have to ask, if this is not happening, then education is not really adapting. And you know what? It's not happening. It's not happening. We are still trying to build a 2D educational system with learning management systems and e-learning packages. But that's not the paradigm change. We have to go to something else. So the question is, what do we have to do? And I think we have to reinvent the validation of competences. And in order to explain that, I start to talk about competence playlist. And I have two other people. I need two other people who have the passion and talent to understand and make a video out of the two next posters. Who? Please, I need two people with passion and talent to explain it. Nobody in this whole room. Yes. This is learning. This is the teacher that says to his students, I'm going to explain something, and I want students with the passion and talent to produce a module that's even better than when I explain it. So please, take the following two. So you get an assignment. You both are producing a video where you explain the following thing better than I do. The first thing, what's a competence playlist? Well, a competence playlist is something that grows your whole life. It starts when you're born, and it ends when you're dead. From cradle to cradle. And this is what is going to happen. Education is not anymore present in the beginning, but education has one of the biggest opportunities it ever had. It will be present all the time, but you have to change your paradigm. What I'm explaining is not a threat, it's an opportunity. So what happens in education, this is the thing. This is you, and you're looking. So the first thing I did was engineering, passion and talent, and then you become competent. You know why you become competent? Because other people start asking you questions, and you have the answers. And then I did some else thing. I started writing and doing keynotes, etc. And then I lost my passion in engineering. If you lose your passion, you don't have the hunger anymore for learning. The lamp goes out, and you become incompetent. And then you do something else, and something else, and maybe somebody with old cars. I just met him at the toilet. He was talking about his passion, old cars. And then something else, and then something else, and something else, something else, and it goes out, and in. And this is you. This is you. And the reason why I call the competence playlist is because it's similar with the music playlist. The music playlist is a list of music you like to hear. You know what the competence playlist is? It's a list of things you like to do because you got addicted to your talents and you are rewarded with dopamine. Now, there is no age limit on that. So if you would ask me today, what's your competence playlist? I'm giving keynotes, thinking about learning and development concepts, barbecue, no sports. But this is what you want to be, and this has to be visible. So that's the reason why I'm saying that. The reason why I give you these posts, and that's something I've learned. So many years ago, and Neil knows it, there was a video produced, the same like this thing, but the recording was very well. And he said to me, you have to put a video online. And I said to him, no, I'm not going to do it. Because who says it's right, and if the video is online, nobody's going to book me for a keynote because everything is online. And maybe my language is not right. So the second week he said, you have to do it. Third week he said, fourth week he said, I done it. I put your video on YouTube. And I've learned something. Passionate, talented people share on the internet. Why? That's how they become visible. And when you're visible, some people will hire you to work in interesting projects. So you know who's going to be the best teachers in the world? Who share everything they know. You know why? Every student wants to learn with them. And that's a start. You know that not many teachers have the courage to share what they know. You know why? No passion, no talent. And maybe they didn't think about it. So if you think about this thing, then We have oh, this is one. I think it's nice. We have to tweet this one. A competence playlist shows the ever-changing color of your talents. I really love this one. You know, I changed the color to something deadly at the end. So that's when you go to the grave, then the colors change, but they are still there. Now imagine that everybody is able to do that. And it started at education. And you go back to education to learn from others. It becomes a hub where different ages are mixing with passion and talent. So the next question we have to ask ourselves is, what is social validation? So now I need, that's your slide, that's the other one also. So I've been thinking about that thing also because I'm not 4 degrees. And I think social validation is what happens when other people tell other people, wow, what you're doing is great. It's going to happen on the internet. Do you know I'm here? Because of social validation. Because of my degree. Oh, fuck. No, because you share. And people validate you. And so I came up with this idea. Imagine that we do the following thing. Imagine that this is the basis. Then I see 2 kinds of social validation. The first kind of validation is based on how you learn. So this means that I'm giving you the opportunity and the other people the opportunity to produce a video. You can 4 minutes, 5 minutes. You can make a course out of it. I don't care. But the moment you put it online, you become present. And people will say, yes. And if you do explain something not in your talent, you don't get... That's social validation. That's what Google says. Google says, I don't want to have your degrees. I already know where you're good in. Because we know your Google history. That's information. So the first network is learning networks. And this can happen at school, where students exchange information and they validate each other, and then you see the best students. They are validated. Because that happens also in real life. I will validate you, you will validate me. And if you're validated by a professional, the value has more. And the second evaluation is going to happen when you do. So first we have learning networks. And then we are able to work in projects. And that's another kind of validation. That's where people with different competences say to each other, we were the biggest team in the world. And then you get validated because of your action. And then you get dopamine. And once you have experienced that, you will never go back. Now, what is disruption in education? Starting with this. And the problem we have today in education is the dynamic value of 3D smarts will be determined by the changing 3D networks. So the challenge is education has to go to a new paradigm. And I see it all the time, not only in education, but also in companies. What I see is that we are talking about we have to go from there and we have to go to there. We know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. So it's how do you create organizations and education that embraces this thing, and how we transform it to this thing? Fossil cars, electrical cars, vacuum cleaner with a bag, without a bag, Nokia phones, smartphones. It's a disruption. So it's a threat. It's a threat. So if you think about that thing, it's a threat. Our biggest challenge is not disruptive innovation, it's the resulting disruption in employment. We are coming to the end of trainability. And I'm just going to explain why. I hope we recognize this picture. It's a silent movie, The Jazz Singer, with Al Johnson. It was one of the first feature movies where people sang and spoke. And this became possible because in the period of the silent movie, there was no technology where you could record voice and play it lip synchronous. Self-empowerment. Where you could have lip synchronous. And then suddenly one technology came. We can make movies where people talk. Because suddenly it became possible to record the movie and the sound. So this was one of the first feature films, and they played it at the movie theaters, and people were standing up because they never saw a screen that talked. That is disruptive technology. But the real disruption was not the technology. The real disruption was we didn't need silent actors anymore. And it's not their fault, because their passion was silent acting. So a lot of actors had to leave the movie industry, but suddenly there was another opportunity. People with passion and talent to sing and speak suddenly could come work for the movie industry. And where did they come from? They come from theaters, from musicals, because in the movie industry they could earn much more money. It's the same thing that's happening now in the car industry. It's not the fossil car to the electrical car that's the real problem. It's employment. You need other passion and talents. And now we're going to say something very tough. Education has to switch from 2D smarting with 2D teachers and 2D education professionals to 3D smarting with 3D teachers and education professionals. And that's the real problem. Because this is true. This is not happening. This is not happening. And this means that you have this educational system with people who have the passion and talent to teach. And now we have another system where teachers have the passion and talent to find passion and talent and create learning ecosystems. But you need other passion and talent to do that. The same thing will happen in the education, what happened in the movie industry, what is happening in education, what's happening in healthcare. It's the same. So the question we have to ask ourselves, what is the most powerful innovation killer? And I gave it a name. I call it the power defect. And the power defect, it's something I came up with in 2009 to explain something very difficult. And you know what the real meaning is of the word competence. The word competence has two meanings. I need my lamp back for a second. Oh, no, you can show. You were going to do it. Oh, God. The first thing when you're competent is you're capable. And you know when you're capable, when your land burns. When you're doing a job with passion for your talents, you learn. Then new skills are built. And if you don't have the talent and you don't have the passion, it will go lower. But you're not competent if you're very smart, but you're not allowed to do something with it. So you need your authority. So the real definition of the word competent is you're competent if you're able to learn and you have the authorization. So sometimes I have to explain this to psychologists or people from HR. So I really had made it very easy. So I took the following picture. I put two things. The first is, are you capable? No or yes. Do you have the authorization? No or yes. And then you have 4 squares. And the first square is this one. Not capable and not authorized. You're a sheep. Most of us work in sheep functions, especially in education. Do you know why? Somebody else tells you how to do it, and if you want to do it, you have to ask. That's a sheep function description. But imagine now that we would go to competence. This means the upper part. This means that you are very capable and you're very authorized. That makes you competent. This makes you agile. So I just give you an example. In my office, I have a small space for workshops. Do you know what's in the middle of my office against the wall? A chalkboard. Do you know chalk? It's the best pedagogical middle you have. Somebody asks you a question, you put it on the board with chalk, you draw it, you build neural connections. The people are looking at you and they say, wow, and in their head new neural connections are made. Now it's a PowerPoint slide. Do you really think the brain works that way? Do you know why the board is there? Because in another school they replaced all the chalkboards and they put a smart board in place. Nobody could decide if he wanted or not. It was there after the vacation. Do you know what's left from me? It's a smart board, and on the right side, Apple TV and streaming video. I'm the one who decides. So what I see now is happening is the following. More and more people are getting there. They are very capable, but not authorized. Do you know when my heart hurts? When teachers want to become 3D teachers, but they are not allowed. Because there are so many other teachers who don't allow it. And you know what happens with these people when the lamp is on and you're not allowed? At a certain point in time you said, well, if I'm not allowed, I don't learn anymore. Please tell me what I have to do. And the second thing what happened is you're very smart, you're learning, and you're not allowed, you get a burnout. Do you know how many people are at home with a burnout who are very smart? It's not their fault. It's a culture fault. And other people say, I'm so smart and I'm not allowed to do it. I go and work someplace else. And this is happening. And you know, then I have to ask the question, how come there are so many people there? It's easy. Too many people are there. They are not able, but they have the authorization. Why? He was promoted 20 years ago. Doesn't have the passion and talent to know about the cloud, disruption, digital video, another way of learning, but he is achieving command. And that's the reason why education doesn't change fast enough. And not only education, but every industry. And the reason is, people from there should give their authorization to there. That's the reason why I promote crossing generations. Young people with a passion create networks with people who have the authority. And they say, both, let's do it. Knowledge in exchange of authority. And then it happens. That's the reason why young people have to go to work much sooner. They are needed. And we lock them up in education because it's not efficient. So, last slides. Tough statement. I still got here 2 slides. With 2 posters. The last ones. Who wants to do this? 2 posters. Oh, please. You can take this one. So, Neil is going to take your name and we're going to challenge you to produce a video with this thing. And I come to the following conclusion. Tough statement. The power defect is transforming education into museums. And now I'm going to say the most important question today. Do you have the courage to break the power defect and reinvent education to embrace 3D smarting, the competence playlist, and social validation? And that's the only question you have to answer for yourself while you're traveling home or having a coffee. I brought one other thing with me. 45 minutes. To the point. Yes. I brought one more sticker with me. Geert is with me. If you like it, it's one of my best stickers. I hope from today on you stop acting as a sheep and start embracing your passion and talent and give it further to the students. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jef. I do have to say, though, that you have disrupted OEB because all the other spotlight sessions were only 30 minutes and they accommodated your disruptive nature by giving you 45. And well done for staying within that limit. Well, excellent presentation. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thank you. So if you need a sticker, it's over there.
A question? Because you actually still have 1 minute left. If somebody has a burning
if somebody has a
question.
question, I have a hearing problem. I don't hear the questions. No, it's a joke.
Hi. Do you think micro-credentials are a way to
What?
micro-credentials, like those micro
No, one second.
Micro-credentials.
What, man?
Micro-credentials.
Micro-credentials. Yeah, I think that will happen, yes.
is that a good way?
Yeah, I think it's not micro-credential, it's like everything has to do with presence. If you're very good at it, people will know it and ask you questions, and then you become validated. If that's micro, then it's a micro-credential.
If you want to learn new stuff, like edX right now,
Yeah.
you just go to edX. It doesn't cost anything. You don't need to get the certificate.
No, that's the thing. I think one of the things education could do today is just saying, we don't offer diplomas, we offer courses. Yeah. Right? And then you say, well, I'm interested in that course, I'm a 3D smart, I learn fast, and social validation valid me. Because what I see now, I see a lot of people of my age, or younger, 40 years, and they want to learn something else, and they had to go to school, and they don't go to school because they have to learn all this stuff they know they don't have to learn. They only want that, and it's not possible. So I think there is an enormous opportunity for education, enormously, but you have to disrupt. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Please give a hand to Jef Staes. Thank you.